Are we rolling? Because the dogs will start barking now. Blessed be.
Blessed be.
So we're going to do a little video today about sacrifice in the craft. I think it was about a year ago that I sort of stirred up a little bit of a controversy because of some of my Facebook posts regarding animal sacrifice in the craft, or the fact that we don't actually do animal sacrifice in the craft. Some of those words have been twisted, some of those words have been changed, and the narrative that I created has been twisted and changed. The topic was about witchcraft priesthood, Gardnerian, Alexandrian priesthood specifically. We do not perform animal sacrifices. We've never performed animal sacrifices. It's not part of our liturgy, actually quite to the contrary. Within the charge of the goddess, it says, "I am the mother of all living things, nor do I demand sacrifice, I am the mother of all living things." Gardner, Alex, all of the different elders, they really worked to promote a positive image of the craft. So anyone who's ever cracked open a modern day book of witchcraft will say, no, you're not devil worshippers, you're not running around cursing people, you're not killing chickens. It's not part of our practice. Different priesthood might have different opinions on this, or how they feel about it personally. People nowadays have great opinions about eating meat in general, or killing animals in general. That's very personal. There are witches who live agricultural lives. They might be farmers. There are witches who hunt. It's not that we're anti-killing animals specifically. It's just within our rituals and how we raise power, we're taught it's not necessary for our workings. Witchcraft is a fertility cult. We're not focused on death. We're focused on life. So, we're more likely to raise energy, dancing and having a static ritual. We don't need to bring death into our circles. It's not something that we do. Some people took this as attacking other traditions. Well, I wasn't speaking about other traditions. I was speaking purely about Gardnerian and Alexandrian witchcraft, and the fact that if you're a priest within Gardnerian or Alexandrian witchcraft, or a priestess, it really is a full-on vocation if you're doing it right, if you're doing it well. We're talking about coven witchcraft, and we're talking about a mystery priesthood. Just like if you're a Catholic priest, you've got a certain set of beliefs and a certain way of conducting your life. We do not engage in ritual animal sacrifice. We do not use blood within our rituals to raise power. A very wise priest said to me, "Why would I want to use dead blood? As a fertility cult, I want my blood to be alive. The blood within us, when we're dancing, when we're moving, when we're engaged, we do sacrifice, but we sacrifice our time, our hearts, our emotions, and our personal power. We sacrifice with incense. We do many things, but it's our way. I don't have anything to say about other people's religions or traditions. I'm not going to come on camera and speak to you about what it's like to be a Muslim. I'm not a Muslim." Anyway, I think you had some questions if I didn't rattle on too far.
What do you say to people who bring up the past of certain mystery religions, or paganism, or the old religions that did practice animal sacrifice?
Well, they say, or I think it was Caesar that wrote that, the whole story about the Wickerman and the druids putting all the people inside of it and setting fire to them. I don't know any modern day druids that put people inside Wickerman today. There's lots of things that we did in the past that, different cultures have evolved away from. There's nothing going on today that's exactly like it was in the past. It's up to each individual to decide how they're going to choose to honor whatever they're doing. Alexandrians, we respect other people. We respect their spiritual choices, but we're very conscious of our own. So, I don't really think it's relevant for what we're doing. Modern day druids have nothing in common with the druids that we don't know much about. I think the same is true with the modern cult of witchcraft. Alexandrian and Gardnerian priesthood are not an ancient, unbroken continuation. We are a modern reincarnation of the mystery cults. And I think because we're focused on fertility, we prefer love as a medium of power.
What do you feel about the fact that many traditions do practice animal sacrifice? Just to clarify, you're not saying you believe that this is wrong, you're just saying that it's not part of our tradition.
Correct. I have many friends who are initiates of different ATRs, mostly voodoo. I've discussed sacrifice at length with them, as well as other practices, and some of them I find a little disturbing because I look at the individual and I think that person has bloodlust, and so they're doing it because they've got, they want the power, but they don't, are they doing it because they need to? But then I had a lovely time. It's funny, actually, before this reincarnated again, this topic, I was out bar hopping with 3 voodoo priests, and, a priestess and 2 priests. And, I was very impressed by this woman because I am the devil's advocate. I'll say, why are you doing this? What are you doing? And she was a initiate to voodoo who happens to also be a vegan. She does not eat meat ever. She thinks it's unethical, except when she sacrifices it. She sacrifices it maybe once or twice a year, something like that, for her reasons, for her gods, her spirits, and she does eat that meat. Even though that's not my way, I was terribly impressed with the fact that this woman was someone who doesn't eat meat, and she was very ethical about it and thought that it was really cruel how the animals are treated. But she still feels it's necessary within her tradition to perform that sacrifice. Would I initiate her into Alexandrian witchcraft? No, I would not, because she performs animal sacrifice. And because she's a priestess of something else already. That doesn't mean that I do not have respect for her. In fact, she earned my respect within 5 minutes. I'm still kind of blown away by the fact that she's vegan, and hardcore vegan, and she does that.
So you think the issue lies perhaps in trying too much to mix paths, or to serve at different altars, basically?
I think that that's a big problem in many different levels, on many different realms. It's a problem. You cannot be a rabbi and a Catholic priest. You just can't. I, as you know, was considering making this video a little bit more controversial. Who knows? I could do another one later, but we've decided for now I would take the high road. There are people who do this, that they're in multiple different traditions. I'm not even going to speak about that right now. I think everyone's well aware of my opinion, and I don't think I'm the only one who has the opinion. In my opinion, if you're a priest or you're a priestess, you should give that your entire life. And that, my friend, would be a sacrifice. If you cannot give your entire life to any priesthood, you do not belong to be in that priesthood, because you're not a good priest and you're not a good priestess. If you're serving at 3 different altars or 2 different altars, you are watering down what you can give and what you can put into that. We only have 24 hours in a day. That's life. Most people have jobs, other things they have to put their time into, their families, whatever other obligations they have. So they're playing at it. It's a game. It's a cool toy box, and they get to pull their toy out and play with their little action figure for 5 minutes and put it away. That's not service, and it's not sacrifice. So I think that the point that Gardnerians and Alexandrians do not perform animal sacrifices came out of the fact that there are people who go into a Gardnerian circle on the full moon and then go and kill a chicken next week. And I was highlighting the fact that I don't think this is true devotion. I think that if you're a Gardnerian priest, you should always be a Gardnerian priest, not just in the circle. That's my opinion. You should be serving those gods with your whole life. Other people don't have that kind of dedication. Maybe it's because I'm Alexandrian and we do really fully dedicate ourselves to our priesthood, and we do not like to mix our drinks. That doesn't mean that we do not learn and borrow from other sources. We're very greedy for power, and we'll take it wherever we can. And we do recognize that the death of an animal would produce power. It's just we don't need it. We're Alexandrians. We don't need your measure, as they say.
Valid. What do you think about people who would bring up the fact that you eat meat?
Well, I think it's a very valid point, but we're talking about two different things. If you're talking about the ethics of animal sacrifice and eating meat, or are we talking about the magical side of it? For me, the reason I don't sacrifice animals is because I don't think it's magically necessary. My gods do not demand sacrifice. It's not a part of my priesthood. It just really serves no purpose for me. I eat a lot less meat than I used to because I am aware of the horrible treatment that some animals go through in the modern, agricultural machine. That's why I was so impressed with the voodoo priestess who was vegan, because she was doing the sacrifice for a holy reason. And, has a huge problem with the ethics of meat. The dogs always do this whenever I'm on camera. They want the attention. So for me, I do have an ethic issue with eating meat. So I try to eat less of it, but I cannot resist a medium rare steak and a red glass of wine at a fancy restaurant. So where I've gone with that is I try not to eat meat at home. But yes, I'm still a carnivore, and I do have some ethical objections to it. I just, I'm greedy for lots of things.
But you're separating out the arguments here, which I think is important to your point, which is it's not so much, we're not really talking about the ethics of the slaughter, but of
I don't like,
the religious aspect.
I have heard stories of animal sacrifices that were done in an abusive manner, and I do object to that. But I don't practice it anyway. Do I object to setting a goat on fire while it's alive? Yes, I do, ethically. I think that's horrible. There are things that I object to. There is a initiation ritual to where they remove the living heart from a chicken, and while it's still beating, the initiate has to consume it. This isn't witchcraft, this is a different practice. I think it's terribly cruel. I do object to it, But most sacrifices are very quick and they're clean. And if they're done by a trained person, they're very kind, about it. Things die, every day. You can't live without things dying, We're a fertility cult. We understand the cycles of life and we do acknowledge death is necessary. Things die. So I've got no problem with the magical choice of it if it's done appropriately and if it's that person's, if it's what they need to do. If they're doing it just to be cool, just to show how badass they are, just to feel powerful, then yeah, I think that I do object to them, Look at their lives. That's what I would say about all magical people. Look at their lives. What are they doing? Are they happy people? Do they suffer from substance abuse? Are they alcoholics? Are they drug addicts? Do they have good, healthy relationships? Do they have money? Can they rub two nickels together? Do they have the things they need? Are they manifesting a world around them that is happy and positive? Because that's the work. I don't care if you're casting circle and doing high-end ritual, or if you're, waving dead chickens around. If you don't have the results, what is it all for? Hope I answered the question. I do stray.
Yeah, you did. Do you have anything else you would add on the subject of sacrifice in the craft or the
There
animal
is
issue?
no sacrifice in the craft, and I do not think a fit initiate of Alexandrian or Gardnerian craft can be in a blood sacrifice. I think it changes a person, and I think they don't belong there. If you're dedicated to any religious or spiritual practice, you've signed a contract into that practice, and I'm not going to speak about the training of the things that go into that. However, you cannot be a Catholic priest, or you're not supposed to be a Catholic priest, and also work in pornography. It doesn't work. The ethical divide is there for people, And it's also the way people practice and the way they're trained and, you know, the way that their spirits work. You cannot be a Christian and believe Jesus is your savior and then go join the Church of Satan and be there too, you know. But people are doing this, you know, people are watering down their drinks. I think that there are initiates out there who are going to jump on this as, I'm anti-ATR. No, I'm not. If you're ATR, if you're a priest of voodoo, you should be full-on a priest of voodoo, in my opinion. And if you're not full-on a priest of voodoo, you're not a good priest of voodoo. You're not serving your spirits full-time. I'm Alexandrian. I'm full-time Alexandrian. I'm not anything else, you know, and so I stand behind my opinions. I don't kill animals, you know. I try not to eat meat, but I do eat meat, so I've got a little hypocrisy there. But my objection is not about killing animals. My objection is abuse to animals, and my objection is initiates of the craft killing animals. And the reason why is because we've worked very hard, number one, to promote the craft in a positive light. The general public will not see the difference. If you're a witch and you're killing chickens or any other animals, witches are killing chickens. They're not going to see. You made a very valid point, Levi, that to the outside world, we're all the same thing. They don't we have a witchcraft shop, and I did have one more point I want to make. We have a witchcraft shop that also sells voodoo, and other, ATR. We sell books, we sell products, people go in there and they say, oh, it's the witchcraft shop, or it's the voodoo shop. They don't see the difference. They do not know the difference. They can pick up something that says it's a witch's poppet on there, and they'll say, oh, it's a voodoo doll. They do not see the difference. So unfortunately, for those Gardnerians and Alexandrians out there who are going to be mad that I'm attacking initiates that are also members of ATRs, well, I'm sorry. I don't agree with it. I don't think they're good priesthood, and they're not going to serve you well. They're not going to serve the traditions well by being associated with these activities. Witches have no business speaking about ATRs. We're not initiates of ATRs. Vice versa, ATRs have no business speaking about our craft. They're not initiates. For those people who are multiple initiates, well, I just think you're doing everyone a disservice, and you should go be a Buddhist. The last thing that I am going to say is about supporting ATRs. Christian and I have actually paid for voodoo rituals here in New Orleans. We paid for a huge fete, I think they call it, and it was beautiful, and we went. There was no animal sacrifice there. I wouldn't have gone if there was. It was a polite, social, communal gathering. Not my thing, but I respected it, and I did feel power there, and there were some nice people there, but we donated money to that. When Priestess Miriam's voodoo temple burned down, Christian was the first person to help her get fund sourcing and it worked, and we rebuilt her temple somewhere else. We helped. So we are friends with people who practice communities of voodoo, and we support them. Some of my closest friends here are initiates of voodoo. They respect my opinions, and I respect theirs. And we own businesses that actually sell information about these things. So anyone who's going to go out there and say that we're anti this, well, they're not looking at the facts. And, we don't agree with all the practices, but we don't practice it. So of course we don't. I don't agree with all the practices of the Catholic Church. Guess what? I'm not Catholic. Plain and simple. So I want to wrap this up by saying, I speak for Alexandrian witchcraft from my perspective. I sometimes speak about other traditions based on what I know, but I'm not a representative of them. So my opinion is that in the craft, animal sacrifice is not something we do, and that's all I really ever said. I think that the spinning point here, the tipping point, is that I am calling out to initiates who I do know engage it. And the one who's on the tip of my tongue, and I may say his name very soon because I'm getting very tired of him, but I've been convinced by Master Levi here to be on my best behavior today. He is mixing his drinks. I know for a fact that he is killing animals in a witchcraft vein. I know for a fact that he is sexually exploits his initiates. He's had sex with many of his initiates. I know for a fact that he's lured people into his home under the pretense of doing a Gardnerian circle, and there was no one there but him, but the two men still cast a circle naked. Wonder why that man didn't stick around, don't know. So that's a different subject though. This video is not about predator behavior in the craft, so I might have to make another one. Blessed be.
Blessed be.